What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Taste Like Music. Jason and Joe here today, reviewing the new record by The National called Laugh Track. This is their second one of the year, following up First Two Pages of Frankenstein. When did that come out? Maybe 6 months ago? Not even. I don't know. When was that?
If you're asking me to relay any sort of information on the National, you're asking the wrong person, Jason. I believe Google will be your muse, your guide here.
Myself, pretty big National fan, but it wasn't super high on First Two Pages of Frankenstein. We reviewed that back when it came out. I gave it 3.5 stars. And as I've sat with it more and thought about it more and revisited a little bit after listening to the new one, I think it's got to go down to 3 stars. I don't think it's their best work. And because of that, I was not all that interested in listening to this new one. And to think several years ago to have thought like that I would be so disinterested in a National record would have been unthinkable, but here we are.
Yeah, I didn't like the last one. I didn't hate it. It just felt extremely middle of the road and just average. Like, this is what older bands do when they're out of ideas. They turn into U2 or Coldplay or whatever. And yeah, I think I might have given it 3, but I did not enjoy it very much. I thought it was a competent but unenjoyable record.
All right, so this new one, apparently I was reading a little about it. A lot of it is like fragments of songs that they were working on around the same time, but actually recorded after the fact. They're not entirely recorded during the same sessions. I think they took some of these tracks out on the road a little, performed them live some before laying them down in the studio. I don't know though. In some respects, it's maybe a little better, but it's very, very much in the same ballpark as First Two Pages of Frankenstein. I read some reviews before I actually listened to it, and people were saying, it's actually, a good bit better. There's more live drumming on this record. And so I had some like, all right, maybe it's not going to be as middle of the road as I think it's going to be, but it pretty much is.
Yes, I feel the same way. I think it's pretty much the same as the last one as far as enjoyability goes for me. It just feels really, one note, very mid-tempo. Really feels like Berninger is just turning into Bono, like just kind of recycling the same song structures, and the lyrics feel just like so 2000s, from Achtung Baby to All You Can't Leave Behind You Too. He even kind of sounds like Bono, or maybe that's Justin Vernon on the track with Bon Iver, which really sounded like U2. You got Justin Vernon from Bon Iver, and you got the It Girl, Phoebe Bridgers, and you got Roseanne Cash on here. And none of it changes the songs at all. Like, they still sound exactly the same. A lot of it has like those like it feels a little bit like War on Drugs sometimes, but it doesn't have like those triumphant choruses. It just sort of like goes on and on and on. The drumming is much better. I feel, there is some liveliness to the drumming. I don't know the drummer's name because I didn't do the deep dive with you guys, but I can definitely appreciate him. But there's just only so much you can do when Berninger is just still, it feels like he's just driving everything, and every song he wants to do is kind of just the same thing. And it's just like sad dad surrendering, just sort of like roar. And the only thing that's sort of interesting and different is Smoke Detector, which is the last song, which is it's too long and it's too velvety underground maybe, but it's completely different. It's like twisty and unpretty, and it's a little angular, and it doesn't sound like U2 cosplay. And I don't know if I like it that much, but at least it's like different, like something new, after basically 2 albums of the same real 3-star album for me.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot, and it's hard to like exactly put a finger on why it feels so much less interesting than their past work. Like these 2 records from this year, like because sonically it's not like a huge departure. It's not like they took a left turn into some like new direction that isn't working. It's not that far removed from their great albums that I think are fantastic. it's pretty close and yet drastically less interesting. And it could be partly a failure to evolve, and they're kind of like doing the same thing and repeating themselves now. But I don't even think it's that much. I think what was so good about their past albums was that they found ways, doing very minimal things. You know, they were never showy players. They never did anything too fancy production wise, but they found ways, really interesting and creative ways, to build tension and dynamics and drama, and build that into the songs. And that, I think, is not really there anymore. A lot of what's happening is just like synth pads playing the chords of the song with some kind of often electronic, but occasionally live drums going on underneath. And Berninger, who I think is still a good writer, I still like his lyrics, but there's nothing really pulling in any kind of interesting direction. It's so flat, it's so gray. I think part of it is the mixes aren't really dynamic. You know, the drums, I was noticing a lot on this new record. Even when things are building and like the drum part's starting to get interesting, it sits so like low in the mix. It never really feels like things are building, when maybe it was the band's intention to have it feel that way. It just, I don't know, it falls pretty flat for me. I 100% agree with you. The best track on the record, and the best track on the two records combined, is the last track of this one, Smoke Detector. It is far and away the best thing on either record. And I think a pretty solid track, actually. If all of the record was like that, I would enjoy it much, much more.
Yeah, I mean, a song like Space Invader, which does have that build, like it's got the slow slow build into something, like it's supposed to be cathartic when it, you know, kind of explodes at the end, but it just isn't. Like it's just like nothing. I don't know, it's almost like too obvious what's going to happen. By the time it happens, you're just like, like, is that it? Like the drums are cool, I'll give it that, but like no one else in the band is doing anything to make that song stand out at that point. And it just feels like, I don't know, like a surprise that never really comes. And yeah, gray. It's a very gray couple albums from them. That's a good description. Yeah, it's indie bait. That's all it is. And I don't know. You'd think after, maybe it's because they, you know, did all that stuff with Taylor Swift, that they're just trying to go in this sort of like quasi anthemic direction to like pull in sort of like the normies that might find them. But like it feels like a missed opportunity for them to do something interesting or like cool, or just like anything other than, you know, being the indie Bono U2, which is basically what this has become.
Yeah, I sadly agree. From being one of my favorite bands to being a band that I really couldn't even care about anymore. So it's, and then I went back and I listened to like some older stuff to like try to figure out like, well, what is the difference actually? And like just a song like Sorrow with like the fast staccato strings, the rest of the track almost sounds like the stuff happening on these records, but you put those strings in there and suddenly it's got like this vibrating tension to it. And just arrangement wise, they didn't insert anything like that into these two records to make the songs feel exciting at all. So 3 stars for me on this one too. They're both 3 stars. I think they're very similar in quality, and unfortunately, that's all I can give it. But let us know if you like these records, how you rank them, how you rate them. Let us know in the comments. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Thanks for watching. We will see you in the next one.